Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to write a body paragraph for an argument essay. In case you missed part 1 of this video series, the prompt that we're going to be talking about throughout this video basically asks students to assert a position on the relationship between failure and success. In order to write a successful paragraph, you need to plan your evidence in advance. And so one of the ways that you can do this is to use the acronym CHORES. We actually talked about this in the previous video, but it stands for current events, history, outside knowledge, reading, experience, and science. Now, there are other acronyms out there, but the point is that you want to basically brainstorm your possible evidence, and then you want to narrow it down. So chances are you're going to have more ideas than you could actually include in an essay. Or some of those ideas might not be ideas that you could really write about effectively. So what you want to do is plan your top 4 to 6 pieces of evidence. So these need to be pieces of evidence that you could write about with specifics, because if you don't have specific evidence, then you're not going to score well on your essay. So you might be wondering, why 4 to 6 pieces of evidence? Well, basically the reason is that most students, when writing an essay like this, have 2 or 3 body paragraphs. And so one of the ways to strengthen your line of reasoning is to pair your evidence. Now, this isn't mandatory, but there are times when if you put 2 related pieces of evidence together in the same paragraph, it develops your argument and makes it more convincing. Now, I want to be clear, you don't always have to pair your evidence. There are plenty of times when I've seen students write a paragraph about a singular topic and they've developed it well. However, if you're looking to kind of strengthen your writing style and challenge yourself, pairing your evidence is a great way to develop your argument. So let's talk about how to do that. When thinking about pairing evidence, you want to think about the topic, the cause, and the effect. So there needs to be some similarity, but they don't have to be similar for all 3. So in this case, the evidence is similar because it's 2 different sports-related examples with a similar outcome. So we've got Michael Jordan's experience of not making the varsity basketball team, and then personal experience of not scoring a goal. So layer 1 of the paragraph would be about Michael Jordan. And then we would need to transition to layer 2, which would be about the personal experience. I find that it's helpful for students to actually plan out their transition as they're outlining their essay, because you want to create that line of reasoning. You want to acknowledge the relationship between your evidence. And these are layers because we're not going to put both of them together in one big chunk and then have commentary. We want it to be evidence, commentary, because that creates an even analysis. Now let's look at a pairing of evidence where the relationship might not be as obvious at first glance. So we've got the Articles of Confederation and then the person's personal experience of not making the soccer team. Now you might be thinking, what on earth do those 2 things have to do with each other? Well, in both of these cases, the failures led to something better. So that's how these 2 are related and why they might make a good pair. Now let's look at how you could actually write about these 2 pieces of evidence in a paragraph. This is layer 1 of the paragraph. So in this layer, we're going to be talking about the Articles of Confederation and analyzing not only why it was a failure, but also what we could learn from it. So this is half the paragraph. I want to walk you through the different elements of this portion of the paragraph, but you're welcome to pause the video at any time to read what's on the screen. So the topic sentence is at the very top, it's in blue. We want to basically address the prompt if at all possible. So you can see that it says failure can lead to success. And we also want to identify the main idea of the paragraph. In this case, mistakes lead to greater creations. So we have a topic sentence, then we need to have our specific evidence. So in this case, there's the year 1776. It talks about why the Articles of Confederation were a failure. And then we have the commentary, which is at the bottom in purple. So basically, the Articles of Confederation failed, but they led to the Constitution, which was a success. And without that failure, we wouldn't necessarily have had success in the same way. And our Constitution in the US has lasted at least a couple centuries. So it's important to not only explain the evidence itself, but to have more commentary than evidence if possible. So ask yourself, why is this significant? Try to explain the actual meaning and value of the failure. Now let's look at layer 2. Remember that this is all one paragraph, so we don't need a new topic sentence. The blue is actually a transition. We want to transition both between our paragraphs and within our paragraphs. So we have two different transitions here in blue. In order to create that line of reasoning, we want to guide the reader and let them know the relationship between the two layers. We also sometimes want to refer back to a previous idea to further cement that connection between our evidence. So we have that transition there, and then we have personal experience. We have the evidence that we need. Now, when you're writing about personal experience, you need to make sure that you're writing about it in a way that is clear to somebody who doesn't know you. So you need to give enough backstory and enough detail, but you also want to make sure that the experience is meaningful and relevant. And then at the very bottom in purple, we've got a little bit of commentary, just kind of connecting the two ideas together and explaining the overall significance. Remember that our main idea was that failure can lead to something better. So we need to explain how both of these led to something better. Just as a quick recap, when writing an argument essay, you want to pair your evidence if possible and if appropriate. There are times when you don't necessarily need to pair the evidence, but you want to make sure that it's because you can truly develop that particular example. You also want to provide specific evidence. We want to avoid generalizations and somewhat specific evidence, because if your evidence isn't specific, then you don't seem like a credible source of information. Also, we want to provide commentary that explains how the evidence proves the thesis and relates to the prompt, because that's going to strengthen your line of reasoning. And lastly, we talked about transitions. You want to transition effectively between your paragraphs and within your paragraphs. If you guys found this video helpful, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. That truly helps my channel grow. And also, if you are an AP Lang student, don't forget to subscribe and turn your notifications on, because you don't want to miss the videos that are coming up in preparation for the 2021 AP Lang exam. That's all for now. Until next time, guys, happy writing.